Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines 2 and welcome back to Columbia County. In today's episode, we are going to be using some of the new parking roads to create an entirely new commercial sector in Blackwater. And then nearby, we're going to be playing around with some of the low-density Japanese housing that was added to the game as a part of the Japanese region pack. And then we're going to be supporting all of that with new services like a new post office, a new taxi depot, and a new medical center from the Modern Architecture Creator Pack. And all of this is going to come together to create an entirely new district inside of Blackwater. Or rather, the makings of a new district, because I'm going to be honest with you, we're not going to be finishing all of it today, but that's okay. Now, with all of that said and done, let's get to it. So we begin today with some good news. The extra assets importer is working again, which means that all of the decals that I put on this power plant are back. It's all grimy looking and all nasty looking, and there's a little bit of weirdness going on with whatever these are, but I think that's just the game being weird. I've got my decals back. I'm excited about having my decals back. I am slightly concerned that that might mean that there are some duplicate decals in a couple of places, specifically over here, but it doesn't look like anything's gone on, so I think we're okay. And I think my gamble was fair enough. I think gambling with the idea that they would come back has worked out really nicely for me. Thankfully, I was really concerned that this was going to be a problem. Anyway, I want to spend some time figuring out this money situation that we have going on right now, because it's getting to be, well, a bit of a situation. We're losing a lot of money a lot of the time. We are spending a lot of money on service upkeeps. We're really not spending that much on imported electricity. Admittedly, if I did stop importing electricity, we would be saving a decent amount, and it would probably help us out a fair bit. The fluctuations are what I don't get, though. We go from around 50,000 in the hole up to 200,000. It just goes all over the place because these service upkeeps keep fluctuating with time, and a lot of that seems to be parks and recreation, and a lot of our money is also going into transportation. Now, I could absolutely go in here and just shop the transportation budget, but I think we have enough money to invest in expanding Blackwater just a little bit, and I kind of have an idea for this space. Now, I've talked about wanting to put suburbs in here, but unfortunately that's not really going to be an option because there is a lot of air pollution. So I figure what I can do is build some kind of little commercial space in here and hopefully have enough of that commercial space and probably some office space as well, given that we have the demand down here. I'm hoping to build enough of that so that I can just build some suburbs down this way, so it's just out of range of that air pollution. And on the topic of commercial zoning, I spent a little bit of time between this episode and the last one just messing around with some of the base game North American commercial buildings, and I just went with some different levels to see what they look like, and this is something I kind of want to do a little bit more. I don't want to go in and place them by hand because that's not really the point of this series, but I do really like the idea of making sure that they're rotated properly, they're facing the road that I want them to be facing, which in this case is this main boulevard. And I did the same thing back here as well. I've kind of got them all facing opposite each other. So they're facing this avenue, they are facing that road. Up here, it's a similar story. They're facing this road. We've got some Japanese buildings facing this road with some parks next to them. This is something I want to be mindful of, and this is kind of why I want to play around a little bit with some commercial zoning. So the first thing we're going to do is basically buy out this entire farm. That entire thing needs to go. We do not need that. And then we're going to go through and take out all of these trees because I just like having a bit of a canvas to work with. So I think it makes sense to clear those guys out, which we've done kind of nicely. Going to use anarchy just to get rid of them across the map tile boundary there as well, just to give myself that bit of clear space. Now, I don't want to build right on the water this time. We've done that in a couple of places like here, and I'd considered doing it out here, but I want to try and avoid building right up to the water like this as well. So we're going to leave a little bit of room between whatever road we're putting in here and the banks of the river. And I'm slightly tempted to use a one-way road. I do want to use a parking lot road. I'm going to be obsessed with these for a while. I just want to let you know, I am 100% going to be obsessed with these parking lot roads for a while. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be zoning on the side of the water either, but I think I'm going to go about here And I'm just going to go down to about there. I think 360 meters is pretty solid. So that's what we're going to be going for. And then my thinking was I might try and just do a little S-bend from this road up to this guy, but this road's not being used for anything right now. So I think I'm going to take this out and bring this road back a little bit, and we'll S-bend from a little bit further back. So we'll put a cut right there, and we'll just bring this guy just right up to meet that road. So the distance between them is about 352. So the middle of 352 is 176, I think, if I'm doing my math right. So that should be our midpoint right about there. I think if I'm doing my math right, it's 176, because 175 would be 350. Yeah, so 176 should be our midpoint. Whether or not this ends up being exactly even, it really isn't. So we'll go for 160 and see if that's a little bit better to play with. And 154 on that side, yeah. That's going to be the S-bend that we go for. And that seems pretty good. It does leave us this space, but we can develop this space. Maybe some offices, maybe some, well, it can't be apartments. It's going to have to be offices, or it's going to have to be commercial. That's totally fine. I can make that work. And then what I'm going to do is just very simply go in here and just add a little section of road here, take this extra part out, and that gives us a grid to play with, and that's what I'm looking for. We'll do the same thing down at this end. We'll go for 136, and let's see if we can find a nice midpoint on this. So it was 360 across, meaning our midpoint on this guy is 175, which I don't think we're going to have access to, unfortunately. But I think that right there is roughly going to be our midpoint. So that should be 184, 176. You know what? I can work with that. Or hold on. We could we could get a little bit silly, and instead of doing that, we could just try and do 168 here, and we can do 168 here, and just do a couple of one-way roads. This might be a bit much. This really might be a bit much. Maybe I'm starting to overdo it. Maybe I am starting to get a little bit silly here, but I kind of like this idea. And you know, something I'm considering doing here is just extending this road out as well and giving it some parking right about there and right about there. That might be a little bit silly to do. It's a lot of parking, but I'm I'm in love with these roads. What can I tell you? I genuinely love them. They're so good. They're so much fun to sort of play with. We'll do a little crossover here. We could arguably do a little crossover point right here as well, which I figure we can just do that. I figure that'll be fine. In fact, I think this could be asymmetrical, so we still have two lanes coming straight across, and I think that's kind of cool. I think that kind of works. It's a little bit weird looking, but I'm kind of okay with it. And the reason I wanted to do this road is because I can then bring this avenue over to meet this parking lot avenue. Now, I'm not 100% sure that they will actually line up the way I would want them to, which is slightly concerning, but I think I'm going to have to deal with some weird grid lines here, because really I've got no choice but to deal with weird grid lines if I want this to line up. So we will have to build something in this corner that kind of works better than what I have going on right there, but I'll just bring this guy straight across to there. I'm going to bring this guy straight down and through there, and we're just going to chop off the excess, which does give us some weirdness, but I can tidy that up. That's really no problem. So we'll put a cut here, and we'll put a cut, say, here, take out those parts, and we can just curve this around nice and easily. And then with that connection in place, I want to put some poplar trees down the middle of this road, because I think they look absolutely fantastic down the middle of a road. And I want to come into some of this space and basically do much of the same thing. So I'm debating whether or not I want to do poplar trees or something else. I think we'll do poplar trees for here, and I think we'll do poplar trees down the sides over there, and I think we'll do poplar trees down here as well. But through the middle, I'm kind of thinking birch trees are going to be a little bit more interesting to look at least down this middle street here, and then maybe across here we'll do more poplar trees because they are a little bit smaller and they're not quite going to stand up quite as tall. So we'll do a nice little mix of trees right there. I did see a comment, by the way, that was talking about whether or not we were going to see any spruce trees or pine trees or things like that, because Oregon is absolutely full of them. I think I saw someone mention that it's like the state tree is like a spruce tree or a pine, that kind of tree. I wasn't aware of that, but in saying that, and from what I know about Oregon and that part of the United States, and from like TV shows and stuff, that's 100%. Yeah, I could see that. I've definitely been neglecting those trees, and I will find some way somehow to put a bunch of them in here. Maybe around the little Bryan Town project that we're doing later in the series, but I think at this point I've used, well, not pine trees enough that I probably can't start doing it now, but that's fine. We will bring them in because they should be here. All right, so with these roads in place, I think I want to start zoning this space a little bit sooner than later. I wasn't really thinking I would zone it this quickly, but we're still losing money, and the reason I want to get some zoning in here is to try and make some money. I'm also thinking that these one-way roads that we have going sort of up and down here could eventually be connected to another regional road, so that this becomes kind of its own little boulevard thing through this little development, which, by the way, this is going to be low density across the board. I really don't want any big buildings in here. That's kind of a priority. So what I think we'll do is go into commercial. We're going to go North American. I think that's going to give me the buildings I'm looking for. And I want to see if I can get a nice midpoint right here. So there's 6 on that side, 6 on that side. That is 6 across the middle. So we're just going to go for a nice big sort of 6x6 development, which apparently doesn't exist. Interesting. Okay. That's less than good. that's definitely less than good. How do I want to split this up then? So we have this 2 in the middle. Let's do, I do want some 5s here. I kind of want everything facing this bottom road. So maybe what we do is just a 5x5 right there, a 5x5 right there, and then this is a 6x5 right there. That's kind of frustrating. I guess we could do some 4x5s here. They are facing the wrong way, but you know what? We can live with that for now. I think this side is a different size, if I remember right. So if I do a little 5x5 here and 5x5 here, we don't quite have, oh, we do have even spacing in the middle. Interesting. Okay. We'll do that, which is not what I'm looking for. Totally messed that up. Let's take you out. Let this bit, that's still not what I'm looking for. There we go. We'll put you in there. And that gives us a little bit of symmetry with those buildings. These guys are all but one facing the road. There we go. Let's try and get you to rotate into a single building if you wouldn't mind. And let's try to get you. There we go. So they're all at least facing this road down here, which is what I want them to do. That's kind of the important thing. Now, for the space behind them, I think we're going to go in with some low density offices. I think that's probably fair enough. We'll do like one here. We'll do one here. We'll go for here, and we'll go for here. And then in these spaces, we're going to do more commercial. Now, I don't want you on the parking road. I want you that way. And then for you, in fact, would it be better for them to face the parking road? It probably would, since this is kind of going to be a boulevard in its own way. But I think I'm just going to sort of do this and have them face the little inner roads. I think that's just going to look better. So we'll get this guy zoned. We'll get this guy's. That's not how I wanted that to go at all. Let's get you zoned right there. You're facing the wrong way. You are still not wanting to build properly. There we go. So now they're both facing the right way. I think in here we do exactly the same thing. So I think we go for some offices through the middle. So we did what, 4x5 here. We can absolutely do that again. We'll do the same thing over here. We can do the same thing right here and the same thing right here. And that just brings our office demand down to basically 0, which is good. This is going to bring some new businesses into this space, which is also good. And so I guess what I should do, oh, hold on. Do I want some commercial buildings on these boulevards, on Franklin Boulevard? I think I do. So let's do a couple of smaller commercial buildings behind the offices, as we have done. And with these built, this place is looking exactly the way I wanted it to. We've got all these cars parking down this main boulevard, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking this middle space, I want to go in here with some of the new pocket parks. So we have some options. We have the little mini park right here, which I think is pretty good. It might be what we go for. We have this little tiny park as well. I think the mini park is going to be my park of choice for right about there. And I think we'll go for a little bit of symmetry with another mini park up that way. We have got the canopy covered corridor park, which would look decent down through here, but I don't know that I want to cover this space completely. So I don't think I'm going to go for that one. We have the wide pocket park as well. Would this fit in the middle? It actually does. So you know what? I might go, oh, it doesn't fit perfectly up here though. These spaces are different sizes. You know what? Let's take you out. Let's take you out. And I think what we'll do then is go in here maybe with those tiny parks for these spaces. So we have this slightly larger one with the straight lights up here. We have this slightly smaller one in the middle. We have the larger one up there again. I think that's probably solid. I don't love what's going on with those surfaces though. Really not a fan of that, so I might have to do something about it. In fact, you know what? I think it might be even better just to do the same park the entire way through here. So we have those same sort of street lights at each point. I think that'll be pretty good. And then in terms of getting these to look right, I think it might just be better for me to, well, either drag out these surfaces, which is going to do that apparently, which is it's really not what I'm looking for at all. So that's not exactly ideal. I guess, how do I want to do that? The clip surface, I'm assuming, is just a void. Yeah, so we don't want that. Man, these surfaces are they're gonna be the death of me. I think what we might just have to do then is maybe just run some paths through here. Maybe make the surfaces a little bit smaller. I am actually at a loss for how I'm going to sort this out. Oh, I can just extend them out a little bit and it fixes it. But I'm realizing, why don't I just embrace it? Why don't I just make them wider? Why don't I just make them take up this little bit of extra space at the start of this park area and then fill the rest of it in with grass and paths and things like that? This is so much easier than worrying about how I'm going to fix the jank. We just embrace it. We've been playing City Skylines for nearly 10 years. I think at this point, embracing the jank that, okay, this one works. Of course it does. I think at this point, embracing the jank that comes with City Skylines is like, it's a rite of passage, you know? You get, oh, I forgot that all these are working again. Ooh. Oh, do I want to use these though? Because if the game updates again, they break. I don't know if I do. I mean, of course I do, but I really can't be bothered with the game breaking again. Oh, this is tough now because, you know, these surfaces here they're fine. They're great looking surfaces. It's a base game one. That's a base game one. That's a base game one. They look great, but at the same time, so does that, and so does that, and that one especially I love. You know, all things considered, I think this is probably good enough for this space. I could keep going. I could add a bunch of flowers and stuff like that, but I don't really think it should have a bunch of flowers. I think it would be a little bit much if we have all of these parking spots filled and the trees on the sides of the road. I think something a little bit more just open is probably for the best. I'm also really proud of the fact that I've got the diagonals on the grass following the diagonals of the parking spots over here. That's one of my favorite things to date, is the fact that the surfaces follow the line that you first draw when you're placing them. So basically I just measured this out and I love this space. I think it's really cool. It's exactly what I was looking for. And so I guess we kind of just need to keep expanding this, and we kind of need to hope that we're going to start making money. Because I think what's happened realistically is I've expanded Blackwater and I've built all these new services, and obviously some of those have been built simply to look at them and because it's kind of cool looking. I mean, we didn't really need to put a modern high school in here. We didn't really need to put a community elementary school in here, and we definitely didn't need to build a modern community college, which is costing us $135,000 per month. But it looks cool, and so that's why I built it. We didn't need a local train station, but it looks cool, and so that's why I built it. And I think that's something I'm kind of catching up with now, is the fact that I built a lot of things that we didn't really need in Blackwater, and they all cost money, and now I need to expand Blackwater to pay for all of the cool things. And I suppose with that out of the way, I want to come into this space and just build a little alleyway that comes down here and then get myself a little, I was going to say one-way alleyway would be the way to do this, but really it isn't the way to do this at all. What I'd like to do is somehow, some way, just come through here with a little one-way road. So we're going to go like this, and like that. Yep, we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, like that. And we're going to flip that around. Now that gives us a really interesting road layout. Yep. Interesting is the word I'm going to use there. It's definitely interesting. I want to put this here. And I think these guys might need to be changed to... That is horrendous looking. I really, really dislike that, actually. That's genuinely terrible looking. Let's just do this. This is probably, yeah, that's gonna be so much better. Just, you know, keep it simple, stupid. This entire, yeah, that's so much better. so much better. Okay. So one lane going that way, one lane going that way. That's probably fine. This probably should have more lanes. I mean, I could give it 3 lanes because we are going to have a road going that way. So you know what? I think that's what we're going to do is we're going to give that 3 lanes, and this one can just have, do I want 3 lanes merging into 1 lane down here? I really don't think I do, but you know what? Just for now, just for now, that's what we're going to do. The lane math isn't really mathing, but it's okay. It's fine. It'll get figured out eventually is what it'll do. So for now, that's what we're dealing with here. For this spot, remove U-turns, remove unsafe, remove U-turns, remove unsafe. This is basically going to be a little regional road that goes out here at some point, connects to this little regional road, which will get extended across and connects down to that corner, because I think that'll be a really good little connection to have. I'm also realizing I probably need to extend my park through here, which I'll do that later. I really don't think the park is going to be a priority right now. My priority, in all honesty, given that we are making money, I'm going to buy a tile, and I might regret it, but I'm going to buy this tile because that's kind of where I want to put some residential zoning. So that's going to be what we're doing. I also think since we have a little bit of demand for more offices, I want to come through here and I want to do something like this. I would like to do something like this, and they are a little bit smaller than I was thinking they were going to be. That's totally fine. We'll do a 2, a 2, and a 2, and then we'll do some 3s and some 3s down at the corners. We'll just get more offices on King Street. Since it's not the main road into this new district, I think that's probably fair enough. I'm not really too interested in zoning this side of things just yet because we don't have that tile. We are making money, so I could probably get my hands on that tile. I'm happy enough to wait. I don't think we need to do it. My priority, I think, is going to be residential zoning. I think that's kind of what we need. And, well, I mean, I say that. I say that. But if I want to get those regional roads, I need those 3 tiles. And that's going to be $135,000 a month. I am making more than that. Oh, I'm really bad with money. Fine. We're going to buy the tiles. We're going to buy them because I want my regional connection. So purchase, I might regret it, but we're going to do it, which means, oh boy. Okay. I need to go in here and take out some trees is what I need to do. I need to take out basically all of the trees between these 2 farms. This little bit here, I'm going to just sort of clear out as well, because this road is probably going to come straight down through there. So we'll clear out a bunch of that space. I don't need to do this, but it's nice to do it. And then this is going to come across, connect to that road, connect down there. It's all going to go out to the region. It should be fine. By all means, this could probably be a roundabout as well. That would probably make the most sense here. So I'm going to take this out. We are going to bring this little regional road up to basically there. We're going to bring you straight through to there. And I might have to adjust these farms ever so slightly. I don't like that I'm going to have to do that, but I think we're going to have to just adjust it that little bit. So we'll do this, get rid of you, and we'll put a nice little roundabout on this. We could just use a cul-de-sac. These are new, and I realized I didn't show them off in the last episode of this series, but if you use them on a regular road, it does mess with the surface underneath, but it also just turns it into like that. I don't know if that's intentional behavior, but it just extends the junction to look like that, which is really strange. I also don't know if that's a surface that I can play with or not, and I don't think it is, unfortunately. So there's really no point in doing this, and I think the best thing to do here is probably a normal medium roundabout. So something like this guy, maybe the one with the trees would be nicer. Illumination could be nicer. I think we'll just do the concrete one. Yeah, we'll just do the one with the concrete and the sort of yellow paint around it. That seems fine. All right, so this has the look that I was going for. We have our connection into the new part of Blackwater that we're putting together. It's a bit of a bigger regional road than we've dealt with so far, but the lane math now maths, and I think that's probably a little bit more important than just sticking with the smaller regional roads for the sake of it. I am slightly concerned about the amount of traffic coming across this bridge right now, but it is also rush hour. It is just after 5 o'clock, so I'm hopeful that that's just a bunch of rush hour traffic trying to get into Blackwater. I'm really hoping that's not going to be a longer term problem, although I could probably look at adding some more lanes to all of this. And I am noticing actually a decent amount of that traffic is, well, it was heading out this way, but it seems a lot of it is just getting held up on this roundabout. So yeah, this roundabout might just need some more lanes. That might be sort of where the hiccup is on this thing, or Elizabeth Highway might need more lanes coming into the roundabout. We'll give it some time. We'll see, you know, how bad it stays, and we'll see what happens once rush hour is over and done with. But I think this space in here is kind of where I want to start putting some suburbs. I think that's kind of hopefully going to be far enough away from the pollution. There is still some, but I think it's minimal enough that we're not going to have any major problems. So I think what I'm going to do is probably not something as distinct as Valentine perhaps, but we're going to just come down here and basically just snake a whole bunch of little 2-lane roads through this space and create just a nice little area for people to live. It's going to go right down about as far as the regional road, and I think that'll be fine. I think in here we can kind of do something relatively similar. I think we could go about this far. We can come across and sort of down like this. We can go down through sort of this way as well, just to give us a whole bunch of space to play with for a bunch of houses. I think I will probably put them across Queen Street as well, since we do have some houses on some of the major roads in Blackwater itself. And I think through here, we can maybe go down about that far. And I think we might just end up with some dead-end roads in here, which really isn't the end of the world. Although, we could just connect this straight over this way, and that's not too bad. It gives us a bunch of zoning quite close to the regional road, but I don't mind that. And then for all of this space, I wonder if it would be worth coming down through here and maybe connecting these roads together. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I need to do that. But it might not be the worst thing in the world just to have that connection in there. Also, what's the distance on these guys? We're looking at 112. Can I get 112 in here? I can get up to, yeah, 112 is right there, which brings us very close to the regional road. And that's actually making me wonder, I'm probably not going to go for some full-size houses in here. So maybe it would be better to not do full-size grids either, which is kind of what I've done in this space. Yeah, I think we can go a little bit smaller with this. So before I go ahead and zone this space, I want to paint a new district in here so that I know exactly what I'm dealing with in terms of zoning this new residential space. And it's basically going to go the entire way up to this junction down to here. And I guess we're just going to have it go out to the regional road as well, since that is going to be really nicely sort of enclosing the space that we're working with. And that gives us, of course, it gives us Linden Creek. Okay. That name might stay. That's that's pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that one. So Linden Creek is what we're going to be going for this new residential space. And basically, I don't know what style of housing to go for. I might just go for Japanese low density housing. That might be kind of fun to play around with. We have a lot of demand for residential zoning. I don't necessarily know what it's going to look like if I just zone this. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to pause and I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to zone this. And I think we're going to go a little bit smaller because I don't remember if the Japanese pack has... Well, I suppose we can test it, right? If I just build like this, does it have... Oh, it does have larger houses. Okay. Does it have any... 5? It does. Okay, so the Japanese pack has some decently sized houses. So we could go in here and do... Let's see. We'll go for something like this. That's 4 deep. That's going to be 5. So we'll do 5 there. We'll do 4 here. We'll do 4 here. I might take away those corners just so that we don't end up with a whole bunch of stuff going on with buildings sort of sideways. This one being a little bit smaller is frustrating, but I guess there's no such thing as a, what is that, a 2x5 in this pack, which is probably fair enough. That means we might end up dealing with a little bit of weirdness when it comes to building out some of this space, but hopefully we can make that work. I would like to get just a slightly larger building in there. I don't think that's gonna be an option, so I might have to do that myself, which is fine. This should work. This gives me 2 little houses there. You know what? That's fine, I guess. We'll make that work. I would like you to rotate. Oh, that might actually be a little corner building, which is adorable. I didn't... Okay, yeah, we'll do I guess we'll do some corner buildings for this pack, and that'll be totally fine. Not sure what they're going to look like, but we will figure it out, is what we'll do. We'll get a little something in there, little something just over here as well. They are, by the looks of it, sort of facing the right way. Again, sort of side entrances in some of these. I'm not 100% sure if going for a Japanese residential district is going to be a good idea or a bad idea, but I think we're going to get some interesting looking buildings. So, sure. that's yeah. Okay. We'll just go for it and see what happens. Let's do a little bit of a build there. We'll do something a bit bigger here. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to grab this one real quick so it fits right there, because I do think that's going to be kind of important. And then I can do some small tiny parks in here. We can do a little path along the back of them, and that'll be fine. I think for the rest of this space, I really don't want to spend all of this time doing this all by hand. So we'll just do some slightly different bits of zoning here. We'll go for something. Ooh, do I want it to go right down to here? I think I do. I think I might as well just have it go right down to there. I think that'll be okay. So we'll fill in all of this space as well. We might get some weirdly sized houses. That's totally fine. I'm not too worried about it. For this space, we'll do some slightly larger ones here, some slightly smaller ones on this side. We'll go for slightly larger in here as well. You know, I don't think the Japanese houses were the worst idea in the world. They're definitely different looking, and it's definitely a distinct little area that we have going on here, and it's not really like any of the suburbs we've done thus far. It's just, I don't know, there's something different about this, which I think will look a little bit better once we start getting some parks in here, and once we start getting some paths and some trees in here. It's just looking a little bit bare right now. I also totally forgot about the fact that there's still kind of going to be some ground pollution in here. There's still actually a really good chunk of ground pollution in here, which is a bit of a problem. I think I'm going to just sort of tolerate it though, because it will go away. And that's kind of the important thing with this, is that it will absolutely go away. Now, what I would like to do is just come through here with a little bit more North American commercial zoning. So we're going to do a 5x5 right there. We'll do a 5x5 opposite because we totally can. And we'll do something on the corner here. If we can get something on the corner, we'll do something in here as well. I don't think those actually are corner buildings though. So what I might do, just to make my life a little bit easier, is copy and paste some buildings. I know it does feel cheaty, but I think it's fair enough to do this when I'm actually putting the zoning in here, because then what I can do is just go copy and paste like a level. Well, it's level 2, but it's basically level 1. It's basically the same thing. So I can grab like U, for example, and say that I want this building to be, you know, here and here. And I think honestly, all of the buildings that are in this space have wound up being pretty much the same. So I'll grab, that's not what I wanted. I'll grab this building and we'll say, you know, you're going to live on this corner, and you're going to live on that corner as well. And you've got a weird sort of net at the back there, and I'm not really sure where that's come from. So we'll just get rid of that because it's there for some reason. Really not sure about that one. There's there's maybe something weird going on with Find It right now, which is a bit concerning. Let me bulldoze you. That's not all supposed to be there. Not really sure what's going on with that zoning. Bulldoze you as well to get you to rotate properly, and apparently they don't want to behave. So you know what? We're just going to copy you to there and to there, and that'll be fine. That gives me the buildings that I'm looking for, although I would like to recolor them ever so slightly. So this one's going to be sort of a red color. This one over here is going to be sort of a blue color. Let's see. This one can be maybe a sort of yellowy tan color, a little bit lighter than the others is probably fair enough. And that just gives us something a little bit more visually distinct. And basically, I do want to continue some of this commercial zoning through these spaces. I do want to continue, you know, these slightly nicer commercial buildings down Franklin Boulevard, because I think that sort of makes sense. My thinking was that this could maybe be some kind of park in this little triangle. And I also want to leave a gap in here for a bunch of trees between the backs of these commercial buildings and all of my residential zoning. So that way, hopefully, there's a natural sound barrier. That's the goal. That's the hope anyway. Now we do have some little bit of office zoning here. So I think what we'll do, just because we have this weird zoning, is we'll go across here and just fill that in with some office zoning. We don't have a huge amount of demand for it, so I'm not really expecting any miracles there. This little bit of commercial sort of continues what we were doing on this side. And honestly, looking at this, I'm really tempted, and I think I'm going to just put some more parking lot roads in here. I love the things. I do. I love them. They're so good. They're absolutely fantastic. So a little parking lot road right there, little parking lot road going that way. I'm not going to bother doing that going into the suburbs because that seems kind of silly. But a couple of little parking lot roads just there seems like a good idea. And we can do some grass so people are actually going to park on them. We can do maybe a little bit of a wider sidewalk on that side. And maybe actually a wider sidewalk on that side as well would be a good idea. And just sort of the entire way, maybe down this main road. Maybe not on the side where the houses are. Maybe we can get away with not doing a wide sidewalk there so that people can, you know, park in front of their houses if they don't happen to have a driveway. But I think that's probably the right call for the rest of it. So let's go in there with some poplar trees the way we have done before. So we want to grab these guys. We want to make sure we're just placing one, and we want to make sure that we're placing them on the road. So there, and there. Seems pretty good. I could put them here as well, I suppose. I was kind of unsure about it, but apparently that highway or regional road is high enough to make that work. So that's not too bad. I think what I'm also going to do is just copy this building. Ooh, we actually have a bit more space to play with here. You know what? That means that in theory, I could do a slightly larger building in this space. And can I do a slightly larger building in this space? I absolutely can. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing what those end up being. We'll do a slightly larger building. Nope. There we go. Slightly larger building there and a slightly larger building here. And again, that gives us some good zoning on Franklin Boulevard. That's really important to me. I'm tempted to get rid of the zoning on Autumn Street so I can get something good on Franklin Boulevard again. So I think what we'll do, just to make that happen, is go in and just add some retaining walls to this side of Autumn Street for now. And then if I get rid of it, does it mess with Franklin Boulevard? It kind of does. We'll do some key walls maybe just to not deal with the weird shadows. And then we'll go in again, like I said, to Franklin Boulevard. And we'll say, give me a nice big 6x6 right there. Give me maybe just another, not 6x6, what was it, 5x6? Can I do a 6? We'll do a 5x6 there as well. We'll do a 5x6 here. And we'll do a 6x6 right there. That doesn't even give me a 6x6. That just gives me whatever that's going to be. Okay. Give me something a little bit bigger then. Give me whatever that is. That's also messed up. That's not, no. That's what I want. And then that's what I want. Okay. So that should keep Franklin Boulevard nice and busy. That's what we're looking for. And I think at this point, since we have all this commercial coming in here, what I'd kind of like to do is go through. I want to get some paths that go behind a bunch of these Japanese houses. I'm also not sure what to do in this space. I think this could maybe be a little bit maybe just a little bit more Japanese housing would be an idea. I don't know if they're actually going to build though, because I think oh no, they are going to build. I thought ground pollution was going to be terrible there, but apparently not. We'll do one more here just to fill out that space. Although, if I didn't do that, I could have a path that comes down there. And I think a path coming down there seems like a really good idea. So we'll take this out. And I think we're going to go in and take out these trees as well, just so I can really see what I'm doing. So take out all of these guys so I can get a good look at what I'm going to be doing. And I think the way we'll do this is nice and simple. I think we maybe just hug the houses. It's what we've done for some of the other districts. I think it'll work just fine for this one. So we'll kind of hug the houses like this. We'll bring this down to about there, which doesn't mess with the zoning, which is fantastic. I think I will go for an angle there since I think it'll look decent. And for most of these, we're just going to do paths straight across the back. For these guys, that is slightly trickier. But I think we go to about there. And I think we go to probably about here as well. I could go straight into that road and create a crossing, which that's probably not a terrible idea. That's probably a good idea given we have these paths here. And honestly, creating some crossings up here might also be a bit of a good idea. I don't want them absolutely everywhere, but I think a little crossing here is going to be good for us. I don't think we need one up there. We have one down here. Actually, one up here might look neater, but we'll be fine. We don't need it to be perfectly neat. It'll be all right. So with this all coming together, there's something I kind of want to try in this space, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to try and put some one-way parking roads in these spaces. And I want to see what happens if I connect it together with a little just one-way alleyway like this. And it's kind of doing what I thought it would, in that it looks kind of silly. In all honesty, it's not really done what I had hoped it would do, which is fine. That's okay. It's it's not great. That's kind of the takeaway from this. It's not great. It might genuinely be better just to take these guys out, take all of this out, and actually just put a parking lot road back there. That might be what we want to go for with this. Just do something like that and let these guys build. They are built, well, that one's built the wrong way. If I could get you to turn around, that would be just swell. If you wouldn't mind rotating there, buddy, that's nope, not interested. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna grab you and we'll just put you there. And that gives us some parking. That's fine. It gives us some parking. It does take away from the grass space in front of these houses, but that's fine. We don't have a lot of parking in this space, so having some behind these buildings seems like a decent enough idea. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. I have got a bunch of paths in and around all of these houses now, so I think we've kind of reached the stage where I feel kind of comfortable going in and just placing a whole bunch of trees and bushes and things like that. So without anarchy, I'm going to go for a slightly smaller brush than I would usually use, because I think the smaller brushes honestly give us a better effect. And I'm just going to cover this space. I know I've got these areas in here where I could do some nicely kind of deliberately placed trees, but I think just going for something a little bit denser, a little bit more overgrown might be the play here. So something this space is 100% missing is a little bit of healthcare. And in fact, the entirety of Blackwater is struggling a little bit with its healthcare availability, which makes sense. We have two relatively small medical clinics for 24,500 people. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to come into this area and start working on a new medical clinic. Now, I don't think we need a full-blown hospital, so I'm not going to build a full-blown hospital, but I think we can go in here and build something like this, which is the modern medical clinic from the modern architecture creator pack. And it's okay looking. It's pretty good looking. It's also not that expensive. It only has 5 ambulances and 90 patient capacity, but that should be enough for this space. So I'm going to just throw it in right about there, and I think I can make this work. I would like to look at some of the upgrades though. So the additional clinic center is going to have to be snapped around the sides of the building, and the specialized treatment wing is an extension for the back. Now this will give us plus 100 patient capacity. This gives us plus 20 So this really isn't necessary. This, I think, is necessary, and we are still making money, which is great. This thing also doesn't have, well, does it have any service vehicle parking? It doesn't look like it, which is interesting. It also doesn't have a lot of parking around it in general. So what I'm going to do is pair this with maybe something like a long parking lot would be interesting next to this. I know we have a lot of parking in this space, but it doesn't get charged. And that's something I've been doing to try and make some money. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to come clean about this. I have gone around to some of my parking lots and cranked the parking fee to $50, and I'm not kidding when I tell you that that is service fees. We're getting $25,600 from parking, so it is making up a chunk of our profits. I know it's silly, but it's working and it's helping, so I'm not going to apologize for it. It's working. That's where I'm at with it. It is somehow working. Now, in terms of parking for this space, the modest parking lot's not too bad. I don't mind that one. It's pretty good looking. The canopy covered is a little bit small. The solar powered one is actually pretty cool looking. I might go with that just because it has those beautiful sort of hedges around it. It has some EV parking, and I think that's probably fair enough. So I'll move this guy down to be right against that, and that I actually kind of like. I might do a little bit more parking around it though. Might not be the worst idea in the world, just to try and give this thing a nice, you know, footprint in this area. So we'll bring this road back, and that looks all right. But I think what we could do is maybe bring a little alleyway sort of behind the building here and put some parking on that alleyway as well. I'm not really too sure what that parking is going to be. Or, well, do I want to use the alleyway, or do I want to maybe just use a parking lot road? I think I kind of want to use the alleyway. And then I think I kind of want to find some little parking facility that I can put on there. And again, that I can charge for. So we have this one, which is probably the best we're going to get. That's, that's probably as good as it's going to be. So you know what? That'll be fine. Can I put like a little cul-de-sac in the end of this? I think I could if I extended it, which is so unnecessary, but I kind of love it. I kind of love it as like a turnaround point for vehicles. So sure, we're doing the cul-de-sac on there, as silly as silly as it might look. Now with some of my mods working again, I can absolutely come in here and get some net lanes as well, which I'm 100% going to do, because it means I can bring some hedges around all of this, so I can extend these guys just a little bit. If I could find the exact hedge that's using, that would be better. But I'm slightly, well, I'm wondering if that's maybe not a net lane hedge, and that's maybe a prop that's going around that parking lot, which means we might be just you know, stuck using this one, which is okay. This isn't a bad looking hedge. It's not identical to the one that we have over there, but it's not bad looking either. And you know, all things considered, I think this looks pretty good. It looks a bit weird. The cul-de-sac is definitely a bit odd, and the hedges going around it are a bit odd, but I'm kind of happy that I managed to get those sort of going in a circle anyway. So this works for me, and it gives us medical coverage for this part of the city, which is absolutely fantastic. If we go and have a look at our stats, our healthcare availability is absolutely fantastic. Crematoriums are struggling a little bit, but to be fair, we do have good cemetery capacity, so I think we'll be all right. And there's not really any complaints going on. There is what looks like a traffic accident way off in the distance, and there is something on fire, which has now been put out. So this is good. A little healthcare facility just next to Franklin Boulevard is pretty solid. I do think it might have been an idea to turn it around, because I've been talking about how Franklin Boulevard is the focal point of this entire sort of thoroughfare, and now I've built a medical clinic that's facing the wrong way. I don't know if I want to turn this around. Oh man, I might have to. It's Oh, is this okay? Do I mind it being sort of the wrong way? It's just hit me that I've done this after talking about how Franklin Boulevard is supposed to be. You know what? It really bothers me, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it because I don't want to have to I don't want to redo this. I don't want to redo those hedges. I really don't want to redo those hedges. So it's gonna live as it is, and it's gonna be fine. For this space in here, I'm kind of thinking we want to do more commercial buildings. I do realize we have this weird little bit of zoning because of the different sizes of these roads. So I'm wondering, is there a signature building? Is there something we could put on that corner? This is maybe a little bit much, but just something we could put on that corner that's going to let me kind of make this work. We do have like the iron press building. We do have a nice big French cafe, which is a little bit big for the area. I think it's a great looking building, but it really doesn't, you know, match the vibe that we have going on here. Same with this guy. Beautiful building. Really not our style. And yeah, no. So another service that we could probably use in this space is going to be a little bit of postal coverage. The mail service availability is not fantastic right now. We could just add some little post boxes, but I'm thinking that it might be better to go in here and add a post office instead. Now we have the Japanese post office, which is, it's a lot smaller. It's quite humble looking, I think is how I described this thing when we looked at it in the dedicated video for the Japanese region pack. But I kind of, as much as I love the small post office as well, I'm kind of thinking we do the big one. And the reason I'm thinking we do the big one is because it can go right there. And now, admittedly, I don't love the idea of the post office looking straight at the little medical clinic. So my thinking is we click on it and we use move it to just rotate this guy around so it's facing this way. Now, obviously, that's not a great road connection. That's going to be a little bit of a problem because we do have the key wall around this guy. But in theory, if I go in here and I get rid of that key wall, this now works, although it doesn't have power, which is a little bit concerning, but I can just, oh, wrong button. That's not how we move things. Basically, I can just bring this down to, say, this spot, and it now has the connections that it would need. I can also lower it down to be maybe the height of that junction, so it's, you know, nice and level with everything, and I think that looks okay. We have the post vans at the back. We could, if I wanted to, just extend it a little bit with a little extra storage extension, another post van garage if I happen to want one, which I don't really think we're going to need. But I think this is a good little use of the space, and I can surround it with some trees. I can make it look all right, and it's about the only thing I'm going to get that fills in this little corner space anyway. So this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to go for. This is where the little post office is going to be. So what we need to do is go in here and just extend some of these surfaces down so that they all fit in really nicely, which is what I'm looking for. Unfortunate these lines don't come the whole way down, but we can figure that out. We can absolutely make that work. We'll bring this guy down. We'll bring this guy down. We'll bring this one down as well, and then you down to about there. Now, I would like to get rid of that barrier because it's on the sidewalk. I know it's kind of necessary, but I think we can live without it. I think it'll be okay. And I'm slightly tempted to change some of these surfaces as well. We could maybe go in with a slightly darker surface underneath some of this, and I think that looks better. It separates it from the sidewalk, which is kind of what I'm looking for. And then for underneath the post office itself, I kind of like the lighter tiles. Although I could go for these like yellowy ones, but I think that's a bit much. There are these ones as well, but they do overlap with the sidewalk, which is really unfortunate, so I don't really want to play with these. If they didn't overlap with the sidewalk, I might. But I think just because they do, it's going to be easier to stick with the ones that don't. So we'll use those ones, and that looks pretty good, actually. I don't mind that at all. For the building, we could change the color. That's certainly an option. We can make the roof a little bit darker. We could maybe lean into it being like a sort of a red building, kind of Royal Mail-ish. I think I've talked about doing that before. I think I did that in some of my, I think I did that in my UK region pack video. I don't know if I did. I don't remember. It might be better going for yellow because that is the sign color, but we'll just go for what we got here. I don't know what this is changing the color of. I should probably figure that out because something is getting, oh, it might be this bit back here that's just been getting changed. I really don't know. Oh, it could, is it the garage doors? It is. Oh, that's very cool. I want those to be white. I think that looks pretty good. And yeah, that'll be our post office. That looks totally fine. I do want to put some net lanes on this. I think I want to go for just the usual little wall that I use absolutely everywhere. I think that's going to look kind of fantastic, just running down the side of this thing, just to sort of separate it from the sidewalk. I think that's kind of important. So we'll go down to, I'm going to say we'll just go the entire length of the sidewalk to about that spot should be fine. We could just go around the entirety of the post office. That might not be the worst idea in the world. Just surround this thing with a little wall so it's got a very clearly defined footprint up to about that spot. Not sure, what are you doing? Oh, you're carrying mail. Okay, well, that makes sense. That's, don't know why I'm surprised. All right, so while waiting on this space to build a little bit more, I took a look over here at the small taxi depot that we built in the last episode, and I realized that it only has 8 taxis. So as much as I really like this little alleyway that we have going on, we're going to give it the extension so we get 4 more, which gives us 12 taxis, but that's still really not that much. Like, that's kind of nothing. So it got me thinking that maybe we could do another taxi depot and maybe we could put it down here. Because again, I don't really know what's going to go in these curvy spaces. And we do have this taxi depot right here, which is pretty decent looking. It's a good size and it's sort of a service building that can go next to the post office. And again, it's going to fill in this space in a way that while I could just do some zoning down here, it's going to look sort of interesting. So I think that's kind of what we're going to do. So the taxi depot can live basically there. And then we have all this space. We have this weird triangle in here to play with. We also have the garage extension, which interestingly can go on this road. I'm slightly tempted to play with that. We do want the dispatch center though, so that the taxi drivers can pick people up from anywhere. And I do want the electric taxis as well. I want all of those upgrades. Do I want to put a couple of garage extensions on here? So it starts with 25 vehicles. This gives us another 10. I might do 2 of them, honestly, just so we have a whole bunch of taxis through here. And again, it fills up that space pretty well, which is kind of what I'm looking for. I might even go so far as moving this thing over just a little bit so I can get a garage extension down here. So we're kind of filling that space in as well. I don't love that it's not a great looking building to be. No, actually that's, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep that space though, because I think that's a pretty good space between these guys. I don't know what's going to go in there, but I think that's a good way to set this thing up. And I think we can go in and just extend some of these surfaces down to the road the way we've done before. So we want to grab this grass that's replacing the surface. That is absolutely not what we're trying to do. We want to do this. And then we want to drag both of these surfaces down to here, drag you down to here. Same thing over on this side, drag both of the surfaces down, down, and down. And that gives us a nice connection to the sidewalk. I think this area back here is probably just going to be a lot of trees. This space in here, we do have room for some zoning. And hilariously, well, it's not that funny, but it's funny to me. We could do a small taxi depot in here. we absolutely could do that, and it would sort of fit. It still gives me a weird little triangle to work with, but I might do it. How much is this thing? 3,500 a month? It's not even that expensive, and it is more taxis. Does that look? It looks kind of silly, doesn't it? It looks a little bit silly. I don't think we're gonna do that. I don't think we're gonna do the small taxi depot in there. I think that's maybe a little bit much. Okay, so I do need to detail around this. I could, I suppose, do like a little commercial building in here. Maybe like an EU low density business just next to this guy would be the play. We can extend a surface in here with some parking or something. I don't know what that's gonna be. Over this way, we have got some space to play with. I could go with another couple of small businesses in here. I think we'll go EU low density and EU low density again. And then back this way, I think what I'm going to do is maybe grab one of these guys. I think I'm going to grab I'm going to grab you and I'm going to put it right there and then use move it to just shuffle it over so I can get it kind of on this road at the same angle as these guys. Just, you know, I'm going to have to shuffle it a little bit, but that's okay. We can bring it down a little to say there. Seems pretty good. I'm going to have to get rid of that weird prop that's popped up. But other than that, that seems pretty solid, really. And so as the taxis start to head out, I want to come in here and just get myself some hedges around this thing. I think that's going to be what we're going for on this guy, if I can get it to line up properly, which it looks like I can. So back to about here, we'll go to about this spot. We'll line it up with the fence that goes around these guys. We can go and do something similar at this end. We'll bring this down. In fact, we'll bring it up to here to begin with. And I suppose we're going to bring it down the side of the taxi depot. We'll bring it right to the front. And on this side, we might not need to just do that. I think we'll be fine not doing it on that side. So that just surrounds it, which is what I'm looking for. Again, a lot of this space back here is just going to be filled with trees, and honestly, that's fine. This space, there's not really much I could put in here other than perhaps a parking lot, which, I mean, that's kind of been the theme of the last 2 episodes. So a little small single row parking lot in here is probably not the worst idea in the world. A little bit uninspired perhaps, but it's what we're going to go for. And then next to it, maybe just a mini park of some sort could go into this space. We'll do the tiny park and we'll do the tiny park, and I can mess around with those surfaces to make those look a little bit less terrible. Okay, so I think this will do the job. Turns out the pocket parks are kind of fantastic for putting into little spaces like this and like this as well, and this turned out okay as well. I brought a bunch of the surfaces around to try and blend a lot of this together, so a lot of them are sharing one surface where they wouldn't have been. This place down here, it's the same surface from the park into the building, which is fine, and I changed a lot of the buildings in this area to have that more sandy looking surface underneath, just because I thought, why not? I don't usually use it, and I might be overusing it a little bit right now, but I think it works with the styles of some of the buildings that we have in here, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Now, I will say this area is by no means finished, but we've taken a lot of time putting this together today already, so I don't want this to be a 2-hour episode. I'm trying to get away from doing super long episodes, and that way I can kind of have more episodes more regularly, as opposed to, you know, 1 4-hour episode every 2 weeks. We can do something a bit more regular. Now, what I would like to do before we wrap things up for today is bring some buses into this space. And I think the green line is going to be perfect for doing that. The blue line wouldn't be bad either, to be fair. It could just loop out and around, but the green one sort of comes along, it kind of stops here, its final stop is here, and it heads back. So I figure the green line is probably the one we're going to bring in here. And I'm not going to bring it into the suburb. I don't really think I want to do that. I think what I want to do is just get myself a little North American bus stop shelter. And I'm sort of thinking of putting it out here. So one right about there, and then another one right up here. And it's basically going to come in on the boulevard. It's going to go to here. It's going to go to there. It's going to go back. And I think that'll be okay. I think we can get away with that. I could, if I really wanted to, and now that I look at it, I kind of want to. I'm thinking I might actually bring it down here, just so it does go sort of close to the neighborhood. That might not be a terrible idea. It does mean we have to get rid of some of the wider sidewalks, but that's okay because we're not going to be having people parking in those spaces. And then what I need to do is grab the green line and bring it down through here. So it goes to this stop, which I'm completely fine with. We're going to have it come down to here. We're going to have it go over to this stop. We're going to have it come down to this stop. And then we're going to have it come down to that stop on the way back, which is kind of what I'm looking for. In terms of getting up into this space, I think I'm going to have it just go along this avenue. I think that makes a little bit more sense. So it kind of loops around there, which is great. And I think on the way back, it is going to go to this stop here. So it kind of loops down and around, and I think that's pretty good. It gives us a nice public transport connection for this space. You can hop on a bus over here. You can now get to the middle of town. You can cross town on a green line bus, which I think is what I'm looking for. That's going to be good. You can now, you know, hop on a bus over in Strawberry and end up in Linden Creek within a few days. We'll say a few days. I don't know how consistent my bosses are. We'll say a few days just to be safe. So before we wrap up today's episode, I brought up the topic of looking at Blackwater at nighttime in the last episode. And I figure there's probably no harm in taking a little bit of a look at some of what we've done here today at nighttime. Now, like I said, it's not all done yet. We're going to have to do some more work on this in the next episode, but I love this. This has exactly the look that I was looking for with all of these buildings. I love the overhangs. I love the pillars. I love the parking on either side. These roads, genuinely, the title of the last episode was something about how I'm obsessed with this update with Detailers Patch 2, which, by the way, at the time I recorded that episode, I didn't know if it was going to be called Detailers Patch 2. That's why in the video it's referred to as Update 1.2. But yeah, Detailers Patch 2 is what it's called. And I think the original title of the video was I'm obsessed with this, and then the updated title that I changed it to later was something like changes everything. It does for me. This is such a step forward from what I remember from Cities Skylines 1, and it's a shame that it's come a year after Cities 2 came out, but this is the kind of thing that, you know, if I doubt there's anyone watching this that's still on the fence about Cities 2. If you're 17 episodes deep in this series, you're either playing it and enjoying it, or you're convinced you're never going to. But if you're on the fence, then I think this is a really good time to jump in and take a look at it. These parking lot roads and just what you can do with details now without the need for mods, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And so I suppose we've been doing these little sort of bus tours at the ends of episodes for a little while now. We might as well do one at nighttime as well, which is new for me. This is also my first time getting a good look at these Japanese buildings from this angle, and as different as they are, and as much as they really don't fit the sort of vaguely North American vibe that I'm going for Columbia County, looking down the street there, they do look pretty good. They're really, really cool looking buildings. Honestly, all of the region packs have been really great looking. They really, really are. I love that we have some corner buildings in here as well, and they're kind of cute looking as well. They are. I think they look pretty cool. It's definitely different, but it's a cool look for this space. And now we get to have a look at what I've done with some of these commercial buildings, which is really not all that inspired, let's be honest, but it looks decent. Here's the main avenue. This, oh, I love it. I don't know how to describe what I'm looking for with this. It's just, this reminds me of, I can't remember where I was, but when I was in the United States last year, there was like a main street. I was in Georgia. I was near Douglasville, and a lot of like the towns that I went through kind of had not a main street, but there was a street somewhere that looked like this. On one side you would have like a McDonald's, and then on the other side you would have like 4 different places for getting your car fixed, and then on the other side there was a garage that specialized in like the exhaust of your car, and that was like the only thing. And the other side was, there's a lot of sides to this road apparently, but you know, somewhere there was like a Taco Bell, and it was just, I don't know, this just has a certain look to it, and it's so cool. I love it. I love it so much. I also changed this little park because I figured a little bit more understated was probably better. And I think that's probably enough ranting and rambling from me for today. I think we've done about all we really needed to do with this space for today. There's still obviously more to do with it that I would very much like to get around to doing, but we can look at all of that in the next episode. So with that in mind, thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.